Hello. If I haven't had the pleasure of meeting you in person, my name is Danny Hefner. I'm the Director of Safety and Recruiting for MCO Transport out of Wilmington, North Carolina. We have terminals in Chesapeake, Virginia, Savannah, Georgia, and Charleston, South Carolina. Welcome to our first quarter 2015 driver training workshop. The topic for this workshop is rear end collision avoidance. This portion of the workshop works in conjunction with the printed training materials that has been placed in each of the terminals. Please pay close attention to the material that is being presented because there is an exam that goes along with this video. You'll be told how to access that exam at the end of this video. As a professional commercial motor vehicle operator, we have a lot of responsibility riding on us. Responsibility to our company to make sure that we complete our assigned task in a safe and efficient manner. Responsibility to our customers to make sure that they receive their merchandise or supplies in a safe, efficient, and undamaged manner. Responsibility to our families to make sure that we do our job in the safest manner possible so that we can return home to them. Responsibility to ourselves to always do our job in the safest, most professional manner possible so that we are an asset to our organization and so that we can continue to pursue our careers in the transportation industry. And most importantly, our responsibility to the motoring public to be the safest driver possible so that each of the people that we encounter on America's highways returns to their families in the evening. To always be aware of our surroundings so that we do not become involved in an accident. Because more often than not, a person driving a private passenger car, a four-wheeler, is just not aware of the damage that can be caused when they enter into your path. So it is up to you as the professional to be the professional. That's why your license has an A on it. And the four-wheeler driver, their license has a C. You're supposed to be of professional grade. And you have to be prepared to compensate for those unexpected situations. Now let's move on to the training packet. The training packet looks like this. Hopefully you can see this clearly, and it has been placed in each of your mailboxes in your terminals. So let's take a look at the information that's in the packet. All this information comes directly from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. 28% of all crashes are rear-end collisions. Now, our Qualcomm has what's known as a critical event reporting feature on it, which is hard braking. The method is figured at 9 miles per hour per second for 3 continuous seconds. So how far will your truck travel in 1 second at 60 miles per hour? The answer is 88 feet. How far will your truck travel at 51 or in 1 second at 51 miles per hour, which is the second of the hard braking incident? The answer is 75 feet. How far will your truck travel in 1 second at 42 miles per hour? The answer is 62 feet. So now there's the 3 seconds dropped by 9 miles per hour per second down to 42 miles per hour, and in that total distance that you will cover just in that 3 seconds is 225 feet, almost the length of a football field. Now, if you're fully loaded at highway speeds and you're traveling down the highway, you're going to notice that it's actually going to take you further to stop than just that original 225 feet. It will actually take you closer to 600 feet to be able to bring that vehicle to a complete stop. Now, your actions actually have real-world ramifications. This piece of paper I have here is a news article that is from that's on the web. It's about a trucking company where a family in Missouri experienced deaths due to a rear-end collision. There was a teacher and 3 other individuals in a vehicle. They were stopped because of an accident that was further up the road. A truck driver was coming down the road. He was not paying attention. He rear-ended the vehicle that contained the four teaching professionals. They all died in that accident, and the total for the claims in this case were $53,250,000. The driver was charged with 4 counts of second-degree manslaughter, and he had not had enough rest, and he had falsified his logs. Now, this is a real-world consequence for a driver not performing his duties as he should. That is, being constantly aware of his surroundings, looking further down the road and seeing what possible hazards are in front of him. The second article is from a company that is a nationwide company, a large company. They had a driver who was traveling with his cruise control on in inclement weather, because that was company policy, to use your cruise control as much as possible to help save fuel. It was a snowstorm. A couple of vehicles had spun out. Another man and his passenger had come to a stop because of the vehicle that had spun out in the road ahead of them. They were not involved in an accident at that point in time. The driver from one large trucking company, he come down through there with his cruise control on, and he impacted the car that was sitting there. It killed the passenger in the car instantly, and the driver, who was 42 years old, died a few days later in hospital. And then that ended up costing that trucking company $18.5 million in a claim. So again, this is a real world consequence for a driver not paying attention and not acting in a professional manner. The thing is that you never use your cruise control in inclement weather. Rain, sleet, snow, ice, anything. You never use your cruise control in inclement weather. Cruise control is only designed for nice, dry, sunny days on open roads. You never use your cruise control in a congested area. So let's be perfectly clear on that one. Do not use your cruise control in inclement weather. Now, from the American Trucking Association, let's take a look at the basic concepts of a crash. This information comes directly from what's known as the Large Truck Crash Causation Study. Very few crashes have just a single cause, but in almost all crashes there is a primary error or other failure. In 9 out of 10 of those crashes, the primary failure is driver error. Now, this is in both automobiles and in large trucks. Backing crash fatalities. Trucks are the encroaching vehicle at fault vehicles in 87 out of 89 crash fatalities. That's what one of the study found, and where they studied 89 backing fatalities. The backing crashes represented less than 1% of the car truck crash fatalities during the time period studied. The nature of driver errors in car and truck crashes, where car and truck are involved together. The Large Truck Crash Causation Study, LTCCS, has compiled extensive data in the specifics of car and truck crashes. The following is comparisons between the causes of car and truck crashes. Vehicle-related failure, which means that there was a problem with that vehicle that led to the accident. 7% of the trucks that were involved in the, remember as I said, 28% of all crashes are rear-end collisions. Well, 7% of the trucks that were involved and only 4% of the cars. Now, this means that those drivers did not conduct adequate pre-trip inspections on their vehicles. So the number there is larger because simply your vehicle is an industrial style vehicle that is used a lot more than the privately operated passenger car. So you're going to have more wear and tear, and so therefore it is more important for you to do a thorough pre-trip inspection to ensure that there are no defects that can be or that can cause a crash. Following too closely to respond to an unexpected action. Now remember, of the 28% of all crashes are rear-end collisions, 8% of those crashes were trucks. and 1% was cars. Now, this is a very important number. If you notice, it's 1% of cars and 8% is trucks, which means that trucks have a tendency to follow too closely, or they do not back off to allow room for the private passenger cars, the four-wheelers. When this happens, a car may be the encroaching vehicle, which means it may jump over in front of the large truck. But the truck driver does not see that to be a problem. They do not back off quickly enough. They do not allow more space. Give them the space, back away. Allow them to have that space if they're going to come over in front of you. Also, because of traveling in tight situations, trucks are more apt to be involved in an accident of this nature, and this is the highest percentage of the 28% of all crashes that was afforded to trucks, to large trucks. Evasive steering, which is overcompensation. A tire drops off the asphalt and someone jerks it back on. 1% of trucks and 6% of cars. So you see the abject opposite there. Why? Because you are more used to driving on long hauls, and you're more adept at being able to bring those vehicles back into line where they need to be. Falling asleep at the wheel, 1% of trucks, 9% of cars. Now, cars have the highest rating here. Why? Because you are required by regulation to take your rest. Those drivers who were involved at falling asleep at the wheel did not take adequate rest periods, and therefore fall asleep behind the wheel and are involved in an accident. So let's take a look at some of the overall problems with the vehicles. Out of that 28% of the crashes that are rear-end collisions, 27% of trucks and 2% of cars had brake problems. Now, industry-wide, if you take a look at the trends in violations, it is usually brakes, tires, and lights. Brakes being the highest percentage. With those brakes, if you do not check your brakes on a pre-trip inspection and see that they're working in accordance with the way the manufacturer suggests that they be working, then you are more apt to be in an accident, a rear-end collision or any type of accident, simply because your brakes will not hold the weight that you are carrying. Now, it does take longer to stop an empty truck than it does a loaded truck, simply because the weight can help slow you down. But you need those brake pads and the brake materials to be in optimal working condition before you go out on the road. Driver unfamiliarity with a roadway. 19% of trucks and 10% of cars. So people just being unfamiliar with where they're at. 19% of that 28% of crashes, 19% is simply because the driver is unaware of where they are. They're not familiar with their area, which again goes to the adage, slow down, back off, take your time. Taking your time, just remember this one little simple saying: slow is smooth, smooth is fast, therefore slow is fast. Take the time to get to where you need to be. Don't place yourself at risk. The conclusions in conclusion, the perspectives on prevention. Crashes are complex events resulting from multiple risk factors and events. Almost all crashes are triggered by a particular driver error and or other failure occurring in one of the involved vehicles. The majority of fatal or serious injury crashes involving a truck also involves at least one car. The preponderance of the evidence suggests that the car drivers are principally at fault. They are principally at fault in 70 to 75% of fatal car and truck crashes, because the car is where it should not be. It goes into your path. The driver of these four-wheelers just are not really aware of how much damage can be done by one of these trucks. They are, in many cases, they're just not aware of how long it takes you to stop. They think because you're bigger, you stop faster. That is not the case. The rates in occurrence largely reflect the same factors affecting highway crashes in general. This includes traffic density, speeding, and other operating behaviors like following too closely. There should never be a case of you following so closely that you're involved in an accident. Again, you are the professional. The average truck driver puts in approximately 100,000 miles per year. In that 100,000 miles, a four-wheeler driver usually will put in 15, maybe 20,000 miles per year. You are driving 5 times more than they are. You are the professional. Back off, give them the room. Be aware of your surroundings. Take everything in. Look further down the road. Look for those hazards, because in many instances they will not. So let's take a look down at finishing up here. The exam for this portion of our driver training workshop for 2015 first quarter can be found on Drive for Gold. You must log on to Drive for Gold and take the exam to qualify for the safety meeting attendance pay. The second part of this driver training workshop will be done via our online safety training program, which will be assigned to you individually if you were unable to attend in person to the workshop. Remember, your actions have real-world consequences. Back off, let them have the space. There is nothing behind the headlights of your truck that is worth risking your life or another person's life for. Take your time. We would rather you arrive safe than to place yourself or someone else at risk just so that you're on time. Thank you for your time, and remember, stay safe out there.